One thing that this movie is definitely responsible for is reminding me that the worst trend out there in Hollywood is not young adult or superhero movies. It's these fairy tale reimaginings. Pan is directed by Joe Wright and is a reimagined prequel to the original J.M. Barrie play Peter Pan. We'll get back to that later. It shows Peter Pan as a young boy who's an orphan in London who gets kidnapped by pirates and is taken to Neverland to work in the mines for Hugh Jackman as the villainous Blackbeard, a character who was never in the original play. We'll get more on that later. He comes across a young man by the name of James Hook, and the two of them escape Neverland, meet Tiger Lily and the natives of Neverland, as they tell Peter and Hook about this prophecy where a young boy will lead the natives of Neverland against Blackbeard, defeat him in probably the worst of these fairy tale type reimaginings since Alice in Wonderland. So right off the bat, you can probably guess I don't like this movie at all. And to compare it to Alice in Wonderland is pretty much fighting words, because that movie was truly atrocious, and I think this is right up there, if not a little worse. It just has a lot of elements that make you think two things. A, what were they thinking? And B, J.M. Barrie is probably rolling in his grave at the sight of this movie. Because this thing was apparently made by people who truly did not care about the original source material and said, you know what, let's just do a prequel. We don't have to tell the original story, and we'll just do anything we want because we're not following a book. And it's a shame because this is directed by Joe Wright, who's done films like Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, and Hannah, which I didn't think was his movie when I saw it. But he's not the problem with this movie. It's not really his fault. I blame the writer Jason Fuchs, whose only other writing credit was Ice Age 4, and he's slated to write Wonder Woman next. Not a good idea. It seems like he was the one that just really didn't care for the original source material, because there are a lot of, again, as I said, elements that make you go, what were you thinking? Let's start with the characters of all. Let's start with Peter Pan himself, played by Levi Miller, who's a newcomer. I'm not going to be completely critical of this kid because this is the first time anyone has seen him. He could go on to do better things and become a good actor. But here, I just think he's terribly miscast as Peter Pan. He doesn't fill the requirements of that spirit of youth that the character represents in the story. At least acting-wise, he isn't very flat like someone, say, Jake Lloyd was in Phantom Menace. There are some elements where he shows facial expressions, but he just doesn't fit the character of Peter Pan. Hugh Jackman, let's get into Blackbeard. As I said, Blackbeard, the character, was never in the original story. And Hugh Jackman, while he is the most entertaining actor in the movie, he plays this character the same way like the animated Captain Hook was in the original Disney film. Or even how Dustin Hoffman played the character of Captain Hook in Hook, the Steven Spielberg movie that came out the same time I was born. Wow. But Blackbeard here is bald, his clothes are very puffy. It's like, why didn't he just play Captain Hook? So you're probably thinking, what about Hook? Because he's obviously in this movie. Garrett Hedlund, who was Sam Flynn in Tron Legacy, plays Captain Hook, and rather than being the Hook that we all know and love, because Blackbeard's apparently Hook in this movie, his portrayal of Hook is, okay, character-wise, he's like a mix of Han Solo and Indiana Jones. The way Garrett Hedlund's voice is like Carl Urban from Star Trek. And then the way he acts is like he's William Shatner or something. So it's just a weird three-way combination of these elements that really shouldn't belong with each other. And there are points where he just came across as really annoying. Now let's get into the controversial actor casting in this movie. Rooney Mara as Tiger Lily. Once again, this is another Lone Ranger, Johnny Depp Tonto situation where a white actress is playing a character who is traditionally Native American. I did see all the advertising and even in the movie going, why are you Tiger Lily? You're a better actress than this. But getting past the fact that she's playing a Native American, Rooney Mara just doesn't seem like she wants to be there. She's not showing any energy. She is as appealing in this movie as she was as Nancy in the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. And in terms of Tiger Lily, she's a boring, uninteresting character. Pretty much the generic princess warrior, like Princess Yuki from Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress, or Princess Leia from Star Wars. It's a character that we've seen over and over again, and Rooney Mara doesn't do anything to expand on that type. Amanda Seyfried, I don't know if it's really marketed that she's in this movie, but the character that she plays in the movie could have been played by a lesser known actress, given the amount of time Amanda Seyfried's in, because she's at the beginning of the movie almost unrecognizable, and then she pops up in the end as some CG thing where you can barely see her. And then you have the actress who was the lead in Paper Towns in a non-speaking role. I won't say what that is, but let me say any attractive woman on the planet could have played the role that she did. There was no point in having someone at least well-known like her. And then another very bizarre, almost insulting, what are you thinking moment in this movie is when Blackbeard's followers chant for him, and it's not like Blackbeard, Blackbeard. It's nothing like that. For some reason, their chants are Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit" and the Ramones' "Blitzkrieg Bop," and it's not just oh, it sounds like those two songs. No, they are literally chanting the lyrics to both those songs within about 5 minutes of each other, and you're like, this is a movie that takes place decades before those songs were even written or even conceived. Why is this here? It's on the grounds of the Mad Hatter breakdancing in Alice in Wonderland. It's truly insulting. And for being a prequel, the origin of Pan is just very uninspired. It's that very generic, the kid's a prophecy that will lead us to victory against the forces of evil. And it's okay, in Star Wars and Harry Potter, it's perfectly fine because those are its own things. Alice in Wonderland did the same thing. Didn't work at all because Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan to an extent were very simple stories. And these movies just complicated both of them to the point where fans are going to be irritated. And I am a hardcore, and I am a Peter Pan, and I'm a fan of Peter Pan, not just the Disney movie from 1953, but also the original J.M. Barrie story. That story is a really great adventure. I love it. And so there's a reason why I'm being more harsh on this movie than I think a lot of other people are. And it's really a shame that this movie is as bad as it is because it's got some great production design. If there's any few things I can say that are positives, the production design looks really great and there are some really cool CG effects and ideas floating around the movie. But everything else is just so bad, it almost doesn't matter. So I'm just going to wrap things up right here. Despite some potentials, despite a great cast, or at least two great actors, and a well-respected director, this is just absolutely insulting. It's often boring, uninspired, cliched, and okay, here's the ultimate reason why the filmmakers, or especially the writer, did not care about the original material. This is supposed to be a prequel to Peter Pan. Yet the movie opens up in World War II London. That's 4 decades after the original J.M. Barrie play debuted in the 1900s. 4 decades earlier. So how can this be a prequel if it takes place after the time period of the original story? How do you screw something up like that so bad? So, I'm obviously expressing some hard emotion for this movie. Obviously, I hate it. It's most likely going to end up on my bottom 10 list. So, this movie... You know what? I don't feel bad about saying this. This movie can go burn in hell. It's truly terrible. The worst of these fairy tale reimaginings since Alice in Wonderland, as I've said before. Please don't see it. Hook is a better movie than this. I'm not a huge fan of Hook, but if you want to see a really good Peter Pan movie in this millennium, Go see the one from 2003. Never heard of it? Well, it's actually pretty good. I was one of the few people who saw it in the theater because it came out either a week after or the same weekend as Lord of the Rings Return of the King. So it flopped, but it's actually really good. Go check that out and don't watch Pan at all. And that's my review for Pan. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of this movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. Go check out my official website, therealmrrobinson.com. And don't forget to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Periscope. I'm actually on Periscope right now at realmr_Robinson, the same handle as my Twitter account. So go check out my Periscope account. And this is the Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.